Hello and welcome to Excel Aviation. My name is Jason Fuller and I am the CEO and Chief Flight Instructor. Today I want to take a few moments to go through our aircraft rental agreement with you so you have a full understanding of everything that is required and how we operate within our system. We do keep a pretty tight ship here. We do require from weather briefings to different things to keep everyone safe and to meet all of the different guidelines that we set out. All right, so first up, one thing I want to introduce to you is our rental agreement. You can, if you would, have that open on your screen or in front of you. It's a PDF file, should have a link to get that. So we'll give you a second to make sure that's in front of you also to follow along so you know what's going on. All right, now first up with our rental agreement, one thing I want to let you know that Excel Aviation actually operates numerous aircraft throughout a few different companies. So first thing you're going to notice is it's going to look like a dual image, but we have one rental agreement and it first starts off with Excel Aviation EVB Incorporated, and we'll be here on referred to as Excel Aviation. But if we scroll through the agreement, you'll see one that looks just like it. Now this one is Excel Aviation Flight Training Center LLC. So we do have two different ones. It's identical agreements, just two different companies. Okay, so we're going to go through this top agreement. So first up, general practices. All right, so the following are practices, procedures that apply to use of aircraft rented from Excel Aviation. This list is not all inclusive. All persons at all times while utilizing the aircraft should adhere to normal and recommended safety procedures. All right, so number one, renters may only fly in which aircraft they have logbook endorsements from our instructors. So each aircraft we have from Piper Cherokee 140s, Warriors, Arrows, among many other things. You do have to get a specific endorsement in each aircraft to be able to rent it. So just, you set up with your instructor, pretty simple, and they'll get you endorsed. And once you have those, then you're good to fly those, okay? Smoking, obviously, not permitted and or around. Don't need anyone blowing everything up. So we're not gonna have any smoking. Aircraft to be held no more than 30 minutes from the reserved time, okay, that you have on the calendar. The calendar is electronic, it's online, you have your own login, you'll have access to come on and off. So it's very important that you do that. If you don't show at 30 minutes, it'll be made available to other people. We'll also have a no-show fee that we'll discuss here in a little bit. Okay, so very important that you keep the calendar current. All right, now, all renters will require initial pre-rental checkout with the CFI at your expense, obviously. The aircraft, each aircraft will have required pilot experience, meaning some from student pilots, some do require you to have a little bit more experience before you have access to those aircraft. Alrighty, pretty straightforward stuff so far. After a period of non-rental, that's 35 days in our books, the renter will not be allowed to rent. So your rental privileges are paused. Renter will require additional rental check flight at your expense. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you've already been pre-checked out, and there's a whole lesson plan that again is an available link that covers initial checkouts in each make and model. Now, if you want additional aircraft tail numbers within that make and model, generally it's a quick up and down with a couple landings and learn the systems and just where everything is in the aircraft because each one's a little different. Now, if it's a more than 35 days, it depends on how long that's going to be, but expect, again, we just consider it, I know it's 90 days for your 3 takeoff and landings for passenger carry. That's just a guideline we use for any re-up. So anytime hey, it's been a little bit, you need to get rechecked out, we do 3 takeoff and landings, just a good round number, and it resets your passenger carrying requirement anyway, okay? All renters will possess a current and appropriate medical certificate along with a valid airman certificate. Basic med is valid medical, so we do honor that. All right, current flight review. Make sure you have your current flight review, know when that is. Our rental checkout, our initial rental checkout is a flight review. It counts and will be endorsed in your logbook as not only the checkout, but then we do go in the back and give you a flight review for it. So it resets that for you. So at least when you're doing this very detailed checkout, you do get a flight review for it. Alrighty. Night operations, sunset to sunrise, not an hour after, sunset to sunrise. If you're going to fly within that, additional night checkout, 60-day currency required. So if you want to stay night, if you haven't flown at night in one of our aircraft within the preceding 60 days, then you need another night checkout. Once again, the initial one's going to be a little bit more involved, going to Henderson and back and just looking at different runways, pilot controlled lighting. The re-up is going to be a lot much shorter, much quicker. Again, 3 takeoff and landings to reset that isn't the expectation. Alrighty. Now the next one is a fuel thing, and there's a lot going around with fuel in the world of aviation. Unfortunately, at this date right now, the rate of people running out of gas in aircraft and dead sticking is high, to the point I'm actually being assigned from the FSDO to do some remedial training on someone that has occurred because the rates are so high. So one thing we do, and it's an interesting one, is the aircraft actually need to be returned no more than 20 gallons of gas. And that's a weight and balance concern. You load up the planes full of fuel, go fly 20 minutes, the next person wants to take passengers. Well, they can't, because the plane can carry fuel, it can carry passengers, it can't carry both. We are not a top and go. And actuality, they're learning that mindset is what's causing people to run out of gas, top and go, because no one manages fuel. When it's top and go, always have enough, and then they start running into long ones, and they haven't been fuel planning their entire flight career. So for us, it's all about fuel planning. You will learn very specific ways. We have wooden dowel rods that we stick the tanks. We know what's in there. We do fuel calculations. We have a technique of, hey, if you put 3 hours of fuel in the plane and you depart at 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, the engine quits. So you better have a plan. We know we do have the fuel computers in every single aircraft that will tally and tell you remaining balance. That does keep you much more apprised to where the fuel's at. But at the end of the day, you got to start and an engine shutoff time, and you run those numbers as well. But the big goal for 20 gallons or less is for the fact that you are not overloading the fuel for the next person. Now, 20 gallons of fuel at a 10 gallon an hour rate in most of our aircraft is 2 hours reserve. If you don't feel confident fuel planning with and landing with still an hour and a half to 2 hours of fuel, I'm gonna be blunt, you're probably not at the right place to rent, because we expect this level from our pilots, from our students. You're gonna learn how to operate that aircraft, how to fuel plan, and if things don't work out and the headwinds are more, you're gonna learn about diverting, going in and getting more fuel. We are not gonna be hauling all this excess fuel that we do not need. There are many downsides for having excess fuel and only one upside, stupidity. So we're not working on that one. So you're gonna fuel plan, you're gonna learn a correct manner of refueling the plane. You're also in the event of fuel stop, the runner, you just pay for the fuel. You'll get reimbursed via credit on your bill. So we'll just take it off your bill. Copy of the receipt is required, so we know exactly what you paid. And reimbursement will be no more than the total paid for the fuel, but there is a max cost per gallon, meaning we have a certain fuel price. If you go buy fuel, it's $3 a gallon more because that's where you're at. You're paying the extra $3 a gallon. We aren't, because the rental rate is based off of fuel cost. So you'll get that back as a credit up to what we're paying per gallon. Alrighty. Prior to each flight, the runner will conduct an obvious full pre-flight inspection according to the aircraft's manual. You'll be taught on that, but you're expected to do that. We highly recommend and promote, if you see anyone doing anything that you know is incorrect, please let us know. Advise us. Don't run up to them and yell at them, but let us know, because again, safety and the safety of us, the safety of you, and the safety of the aircraft, so that they're safe for the next one. Poor piloting, poor planning could cause issues for that next flight that puts someone else unsafe. So see it. If you see someone doing something that you think is not exactly the right manner, please let us know. Make sure you're doing that using your checklist. We'll have it on the iPad minis. It's ready there. You follow it. Alrighty. During all situations in the aircraft, the renter will follow the checklist. Again, you'll have all checklists will be downloaded. No person shall hand prop the aircraft. No hand propping, although it can be done and is legal. We don't do those. Takeoff and landing will be at public, non-restricted airports. Runways at least 4,000 feet in length, okay? Making it at least 4,000 feet. Now, if you want to do something else other than that, go there, it can be approved. In writing, email would be considered in writing per each occurrence. Just let us know what you're looking to do. We'll look into it, make sure, probably talk to someone who checked you out, say, hey, what do you think their pilot skills? Do they need to run? And go from there. Again, safety is key. No simulated forced landing shall be practiced without the CFI on board. There's a lot of little things that we're taught as flight instructors to watch while we're doing emergencies and then also getting those. So no simulated emergencies. In the event you do have a forced landing, hope that never occurs, but if it does occur, the renter is required to notify us obviously immediately for instruction. Under no circumstances, obviously, to continue the flight. And that would be sent if for any reason, it's not a forced landing. Forced landing is an emergency, a crash. It could be anything from, as you're flying along, you felt something, you didn't feel comfortable, you diverted and went somewhere. Where these are not your aircraft, you actually do not have the right to have work, to approve work to be done to them. So you have to just divert, call, and look for instructions on what to do if there is something that you feel uncomfortable with. All right. Aircraft may not be rented for more than 7 straight days. We do allow you to take them on vacation. It just is what it is. Sometimes it stinks when a plane disappears to Florida, but hey, why not? Why not? Why have a pilot's license if you're not going to use it to go somewhere? So we're going to let you go up 7 straight days. Just get it on the calendar. It's first come, first serve. No approval unless you want to go longer than 7 days. There is a minimum fee of 2 hours per 24 hours after the first 24. And just easiest thing, just figure night. Your first night, if you go, Saturday to Sunday and fly half hour, then is what it is. But if you go Saturday to Sunday to Monday, now you expect to have 2 hours on the books. If you fly it and you only fly an hour and a half, guess what you get billed for? 2 hours. So the longer you go, the more you're expected to fly and use it from a rent fee. Okay, that's our minimum hours. Aircraft are expected to return in the same condition they are left. There is a $25 cleaning fee for interiors that have garbage, bottles, wrappers. And that's at my discretion. Excel Aviation, I will tell you, just the other day I had to go and dig at least 6 water bottles, candy wrappers out of the plane. Obviously, that's not one person. We have had people take a family trip and come back, and we're talking about melted chocolate candy in the seats. They just destroyed the airplane. To the point I had to actually replace some interior. They let their kids chew bubble gum in there. The $25 fee, and it was obviously they're no longer renting the aircraft. But point being is, please try to be courteous. No one else wants to see your trash in there. If you take it in, take it out. Would be great. And if your passengers make a mess, clean it up. All right. $100 fee if you leave the master switch on. That results in a dead battery or battery that can't start the airplane. There's many obvious downsides. The person who came out and found it now doesn't get to fly. 2, these batteries do not deal with full discharge very well, and they're up to $350 a battery. They're very expensive. And they only charge once you discharge it to 0 and charge it back up, it never hits full capacity. If it happens again, generally the battery's junk and I gotta go buy a new $350 battery. So we'll know who it was. Last time card, left that master on. You can argue and complain. I had one guy try to convince me someone else went there just because they were mad at him and turned it on. Sorry, you're the last one in there, so that's the way it works. It's a $100 fee if that happens. Hey, no electronic device bigger than the iPad mini up front. Mini, not full size. There is a reason from that. Many years ago when we were working on transitioning into the technology age, going from paper maps and paper checklists to electronic, I didn't know what was going to be best, and everyone had the big iPads in the beginning, and we were using those. I've had 2 events. That's when we finally outlawed them. 2 events where they were near crashes on landing. They were in the way. Inside that Cherokee is not very big in most aircraft. And they had it across their lap, and across a normal worked. Crosswind came up, we're trying to hail him, hit in, we're getting thrown off the runway, and the control yoke was hitting his iPad on his lap. To the point I finally went like this. One of them, I hit hard, shoved the control yoke right through the screen. It was either that or wreck. The second one, I got smarter, and I went to his lap and threw it. Well, it spun, hit the seat rail, cracked the screen in half again. 2 cracked iPads, both pilots, I told them I was really concerned with them having that big old thing up front. So from that point on, absolutely positively no big ones up front on lap. They can and will interfere with those flight controls. You will notice that all of our aircraft have a tray for the iPad mini that I designed and mounted right on your control yoke. It does not interfere with anything, and it has everything there. So in our aircraft, we use the mini. We do have 2 minis for rent. So if for some reason you don't have one and you would rather just rent one that has all your checklists and everything, $10 a flight is not absorbently expensive. So you have access to those. But within our system, that's what we use, and it is mandatory to use that. And like I said, everything's digital. We do use ForeFlight as our primary source in our school. So that's what everything's loaded with. Okay. Final main one is no ride sharing. That was years ago coming up, Uber, this guy. It kind of got dead, but there's still little Facebook groups and things of that nature. Listen, there's a lot of insurance questions that come along with that. There's a lot of different things. If you just have someone randomly you found in that aircraft, that puts you, the aircraft, and everyone at extreme risk because you went out and sourced that individual. And that really starts to get into some weird, that's why you got to watch. Unless you've deep dived into it, it's something that we just don't allow. If you're friends, family, obviously. But if you are sourcing the public, then you cannot do that, okay? So this is for personal business use, okay? Business, your business. For work, you need to go somewhere and whatnot, alrighty? Now let's move on to some student pilots, which the bulk of our people start out as student pilots because we are a school as our primary source. So for student pilots, you have all of those basics. And things to remember. One thing I do want to tell you before we get into the student pilot list is the night checkout. Student pilots, you do get 3 hours of night training during your lesson plan. But please remember this. That is just in training. You are not night checked out. Once you get your license, then you will, if you choose to fly from sunset to sunrise, you will need to get a separate full-on night checkout. Alrighty, next. All students may only solo the aircraft which they received your endorsement in. That's obvious regulation. You're going to have an endorsement that's going to be make and model specific, and that's what you're going to be in. Now, we do have numerous of the same make and model, so tail number specific. The goal, and you will see when you're training, is that you switch airplanes, so you're familiar with all of them and able to jump around within tail number. All students are under supervision of your instructor. You're going to have improved instructor and have appropriate solo endorsements. So paperwork is key. Have your endorsements. There's one called a 90-day endorsement. You will hear from your instructor numerous times about that 90-day. We still, on a regular basis, have students who fly illegally because they don't manage their 90-day endorsement. So this is time one. You're going to hear 90-day endorsement, and it's your job to manage and pay attention to that. Okay? No solo flights will be allowed without approval of the approved instructor prior to each flight. Now, there is a system we have in place through texting. There's actually a checklist that tells you every solo flight, the steps you will do, the communications you will make with your instructor, so that we have everything on the books, everything calculated, and then also everything tracked from a what if something happens situation. Okay? As by the FAR's Federal Aviation regulations, no student pilot should carry passengers, obviously. No one put anyone in board. Solo means that. It means solo by yourself. Okay? Student adhere to flight areas assigned to you by the instructor. So we have actual training areas. You're going to stay within those boundaries or within those trips that you're allowed to do. Always follow those. And when flying solo, student pilots assume full responsibility for the aircraft liable for any damages while in their possession. As a renter, obviously, when you're in charge of the airplane, you're responsible. Now, we'll talk about insurance in a little bit. Okay? Now, activities other than the purpose for which the aircraft was rented. This is just a blanket statement. The purpose for which the renter has obtained the aircraft from us is as follows. Personal, recreational use. The renter should not operate aircraft for commercial purposes, fly it somewhere and provide flight instruction outside, aerobatics, no formation flight, parachute drops, or for any other purpose than stated above. Specifically, flight instruction from flight instructors not approved by Excel Aviation is prohibited unless they're on our list. They cannot teach inside our aircraft. An approved instructor is one that is a member of Excel Aviation or one that has a written agreement with Excel Aviation, just to outline what that specifically means. Okay, so now outside instruction. A lot of insurance, liability, a lot of things go into that. Scheduling. Each renter will be given access to our online scheduling system. It's pretty nice, pretty easy, accessible from your phone, from your desktop, anywhere, and basically anywhere you have it, you'll have access. It's the renter's responsibility to keep the schedule accurate. That is, renter is also student. We're having a big problem with students canceling lessons with their instructor, but they leave it on the calendar and don't take it off. Think of the instructor's responsible. Absolutely not. Here I'm stating it. You, as the accessor to renting the aircraft, even student training, anything that is to be canceled or adjusted is on you. That is your responsibility. Canceling a scheduled flight may be done anytime prior to the proposed departure time on the schedule. If the renter does not show for the scheduled flight and does not remove themselves from the schedule by 30 minutes prior to the scheduled flight time, 30 minutes prior making that decision, they'll be billed 1 hour rental of the plane that was scheduled. Also, if you had an instructor, you're going to pay for an hour of his time to sit waiting. Okay. Special consideration will be given for times of weather and weather changes, and other items that may change flight decisions. But the renter is still responsible to remove themselves from the schedule, even if poor weather. And again, a 1 hour charge may possess for those who book slots and have a high last minute cancel rate, but we're going to give a warning. Essentially, okay, that's the words. It says, if you're not going to fly within 30 minutes, get it off the books, you're good. Anything late cancel up through that, you're going to be billed an hour for that airplane and instructor if you had one. Now, special consideration, if you cancel and you're just like, hey, it was nice, but I got sick. I went to the airport, I got a phone call and something happened. Listen, man, I understand life. We are not going to be billing people for stuff like that. You've reached out, you've sent a text, an email, and said, hey, this is last minute canceled, but something popped up. I got it off the calendar. I'm sorry. It's cool, man. No problem at all. We're not charging people for that. But the whole, oh, I didn't even know I was on the schedule, or I love the, I didn't book that. You logged in, you put it on the schedule. Maybe your wife stole your phone number, your login. I don't know, but it's on there. So, just obviously, if you make a change due to weather, you thought you were going, then you couldn't go, or you're like, man, I'm gonna sit there at the airport because I got time, and I'm gonna try. Dude, we're not gonna bill you for that. Obviously, we want you to try to fly. We want you to enjoy it. So hopefully you understand kind of where I'm coming from on that one. Okay. All flights must list planned location of intended use on the board in the office. So we have a board that just says where the planes are going. We'd like you to log those. TSA, I have had calls. Hey, we've had a report of, where's your aircraft? I am renting out these aircraft. I am responsible to know kind of what their plans were. I'm not saying you can't change your plans, but if the TSA calls, which they do, I need to have an answer for them. So please list on there kind of where your intended locations are. Okay. Renter responsibilities. Okay. Shall conduct themselves in a professional, safe manner. All renters are required to know and observe the following rules and regulations as outlined below. Obviously, the Federal Aviation regulations. Don't have a license if you didn't know those. Any aeronautical commission rules and regulations. Some of those would stem from specifically like noise abatement procedures, just base airport procedures that are noted for the airport. Same with city, county, aviation codes, rules, and regulations. I can tell you we have nothing for that. And then our obvious rental rules. Okay, no violation will be tolerated of any rule or responsibility. Any person found violating the said air agreement would be subject to immediate termination of your rental responsibilities and privileges. Okay, now, this I kind of already breached in. If at any time an Excel Aviation employee or representative has concern that the renter is not using the aircraft in a proper manner, including but not limited to pre-flight operations, pilot performance, communication, rental access will be suspended. An additional training would be required and popped up from the CFI. In the event that a repair is needed away from the originating based airport, the renter will notify for approval to have the work done. The renter does not have approval to have any work or repair, okay, done to the airplane. The renter at their expense may decide to find alternate means to return or wait for the repairs. The renter is not responsible for the cost of the repair unless it is caused by their actions, which will be in the expenses stated in this next section, which is your insurance. Under all circumstances, the renter is responsible for rental fees that occur from the flight, okay, until the aircraft's based at the airfield. Yes, it seems unfair. It's just part of it. You took the plane that far away. It's got to get repaired there. You got to pay for the plane to come home. All right. Renters are responsible for the aircraft and all actions in flight or not in motion that may incur. Okay. The second you walk up, you've taken responsibility of that aircraft until you put the key back in the key box. Starts when they arrive at the airport, ends after securing, locking the plane in its hangar or at its based airport or just parking it. Okay. It is responsibility to care for the airplane while moving it if you're moving it from hangars. During all flight situations and while parked at any destination, the plane may be tied outside while you're away, but even ours sit outside, but if the weather is inclement, we get them inside, okay? If times of risky weather, high winds, storms, hail, acts of God, etc., the plane's safety, the renter must, at his own expense, hangar the plane away from the based airport. Meaning, if you got the plane away and you see this bad weather, just don't go, oh, bye airplane. No, you get that thing secure, because think about what it's going to cost you now. You're going to be stuck. That $10, $20, sometimes $30 nightly hangar fee is way cheaper than what happens when the plane is damaged and now you're stuck. Okay, just think of it that way. And now there's not an airplane for you to fly later, so it's definitely worth it. Renters understand they're renting an airplane in an airworthy condition. Per the FAA requirements, renters understand and agree to risk of all and any mechanical situations that may arise during their rental period. All and any situation that may arise due to mechanical malfunction, weather, pilot control, any other issues not there, the full responsibility of weather. No blame can be made to Excel Aviation, its members, employees, and other individual or business working with through Excel Aviation. Renter understands and accepts full assumed risk not stated while in their possession. Okay, that's the ugly statement, but it's the understanding statement. We are providing you an airworthy airplane that has been inspected, checked, you've done your pre-flight. We cannot guarantee mechanical safety of that airplane. It's a mechanical piece of machinery. You know there's assumed risk when you jump into anything. A car. There's assumed risk walking out your front door. So, just that statement that states, hey guys, you gotta understand that. Now, you can prove we did something wrong, a little bit different. But we follow pretty strict guidelines. We keep our 100 hours up. We have numerous mechanics that work on it, and anytime someone said there's something issue, it immediately goes to a maintenance shop to be inspected and reapproved for flight. So we try to do our best, you try to do your best, and we'll all work together and have some fun and safe flying. Okay? Notice of insurance. So we're going to do, at the end of this, there'll be a whole nother video and information on your insurance. Because it is important that you fully understand what's going on. But we do carry full airframe coverage. So the airplanes are fully covered through $1 million liability and full hull coverage on the airplane. Okay, damage to the airplane will be covered at no cost to the renter except for the deductible amount chosen. So we do have what's called an insurance fee. Again, we'll go through that in a separate section. Okay, all renters and students will be required to pay a yearly fee to have access to the aircraft. The fee rates and schedule will be posted in the facility. It's also at the end of this document. Liability coverage for injury and property damage may be limited for the renter, and additional liability possible is up to the student renter's discretion. Again, discussed in a moment. Alrighty. Now billing, at the end of this, is just billing. You're going to be billed. We keep a credit card on file. We don't do billing right when you leave. Your flight instructors, to keep costs down, there's no front desk. We have a time card that you'll learn how to use, and you email it in. It's a lot of honor system, so we keep you catch you not following on our system, things can go awry. But basically, you'll have your iPad, you'll have your start time, your end time, and you email it off, and we bill you. So you're just this is just a statement that you accept the fees to pay. Here's your credit card. We'll enter it in the system. Then once it's in the system, we can't even see it. So, change this. I can't. I need it all over again. Once it's there, it's blanketed, it's gone. And we can't see it. All right. So again, you're going to have the same info, and then you're going to have a standard waiver. The waiver is just like anything you sign anywhere. You want to have fun, you got to waive your rights to sue people. So once again, you'll fill that in. Even though this is all within one PDF file, these are actually separate documents. That's why you'll fill in things numerous times. Then your actual contact info, and then your billing information. Okay? And then the final step on the bottom of it goes to the insurance fees information. So I'm going to pause here, and we'll talk here in a minute about insurance. Let's go! Hello, I'm Jason Fuller, CEO and Chief Flight Instructor for Excel Aviation. We're happy to have you flying with us, but I wanted to take a few moments to go through a few things about our insurance with you. Now, in front of me here is our insurance fee info. Now, a few big things about insurance. One, it is an annual fee. We pay annually, so we charge a small annual fee to fly with us. Now, that fee is specifically and directly for the insurance because we do carry a full airframe coverage for everyone, which means no matter what, when you're flying our aircraft and anything happens, your fault or not, the airframe itself is covered for damages minus a deductible, okay? So instead of rolling that into our rental fee, we just charge a flat fee to everyone who uses it. That keeps things much more fair. So that way, the more you fly, you're not getting incurred or paying a higher rate than someone who's not flying very often. And the reason is because in our history of over 20 years, we've only had 2 students actually ever do any physical damage or harm to an airframe. And we've had many renters do it. Renters are our biggest risk. And the big reason is they just don't fly as much and they're not under direct supervision. So it wouldn't be fair for, on the hourly side, all the students that fly regularly to actually pay more for the insurance than those that fly very little. So to have access to utilize our aircraft, we've come up with once a year an annual fee. Now, depending on when you fly or come in, the big thing is damages are covered other than your deductible. Okay, all renters and students are required to pay this fee. Everyone who has access is required to pay. Okay, now liability. We do have the standard $1 million liability. Liability isn't for the airframe damage, but that's for property damage and injury. But it's very important for you to understand as the pilot, like anything in life, you can personally be held liable for something. Damages the airframe, fully covered. But anything from property to personal injury, if they deem you at fault and some court comes up with that, a lawsuit, unfortunately that is on your own. I'll be very upfront. I want to make sure you know what you're getting into because that's a fair thing to do. So Avimco, we highly recommend them. They're one of the best in the business, does cover a personal liability. Not required with us. It's up to you if you want it. Students really shouldn't have to worry about that from private pilot students. But once you're there and you're flying other people and passengers, it might be something you look into. Very, very reasonably priced. I think it's under $100 a year to have access to that policy. So Avimco is one of the number one ones that I would consider looking into. Okay. Now, deductible is $2,000 to you. Now, our total deductible is $3,000. Now, to be fair, I am charging a fee. So what we like to look into is you're going to cover the first $2,000, we're going to cover the next $1,000, and then the insurance kicks in from there on damages and things that occur. Okay? And then to understand your responsibilities, if you haven't watched the rental agreement video, that's also important. Section 5 is going to include your responsibilities. This includes renters and students. Remember, responsibility arrives when you start pre-flighting and you are like the plane's in your custody from that point all the way on until you return it with the key. Okay, so very important to make sure you're taking care of that. Now, let's talk about the fee schedule. One of the big ones is student pilots. That's, the most that we work with. Now, as you're a brand new student pilot, we understand that you're coming in, you don't know for sure if these lessons are good for you. You think they are, but you get in it, maybe you didn't realize how much it was going to be. It's a lot of training, it's a lot of learning. Maybe the instructor and you aren't lining up perfectly. We get that. Not everyone lines up together, maybe even aircraft. You never know what that is. So a student pilot, we're not going to worry about your insurance fee. Don't worry about getting billed day one. We're going to wait until you've had 5 flying lessons. At that point, we feel that if you've made it through 5 and you've not walked away or said, I'm done, then you're going to be responsible to cover that fee. So that's when that fee is going to hit, is after that 5th in-flight lesson. Now, if you're coming in with advanced ratings, if you come to us for instrument or anything beyond that, we're going to give you, again, a little bit of time. It's going to be after your 3rd flying lesson. You know you're flying at that point. So we're going to give you 3 lessons to make sure you're the right fit before you move. We go ahead and charge that, because it is a non-refundable fee. Once it's paid, it's paid. It gives you 12 months access to the aircraft. No matter you just use them for 1 month or for the full 12, doesn't matter. It's a flat rate, one and done. Okay, annually, of course. Now, if you're a new rental pilot, you will have a whole rental checkout that you'll go through. Once you complete your rental checkout, then the fee is due before you can utilize the aircraft. Okay, now the fee rate. Okay, now the rate is $2,000 deductible and it's $500 a year. Now we do have the option to pay it once per year, or if you wish to finance it through us, we're going to do 50 monthly payments. There's 12 payments of $50. Now, if you choose the monthly, that doesn't mean, 3 months later, I'm done flying, I don't have to pay no more. No, you're committing to a contract of 12 payments of $50. Okay, you are still responsible, no matter what, to cover all 12 payments. Yes, it's a little bit more because then you're financing it that way. Okay, now the payment schedule is very simple. We just deal with insurance fees on the 1st of the month. So every 1st of the month, we're going to look back. If you're a student and we see you've been flying, we're going to look, have you flown 5 times? If you have, and you haven't notified anyone that you are no longer going to be in our school, then we're just 1st of the month, we're going to bill that fee. Okay, whichever one you've selected, either the 500 or 50 12-month payments. Okay, so that's how we're going to do that. It's going to be on the 1st, and based on that schedule. If you've had a rental checkout and that's completed, then we're going to bill the 500 on the 1st of the month or the 50, depending on what you choose. Okay, at the end, 1 month prior to your 12-month renewal, we're going to send an email out. When we go through, got to look, oh look, John over there, he's up for renewal next month. We're going to send you a notice you're up for renewal next month with the newest insurance info, and then you just let us know, continue, here's my choice, or nope, I'm done, don't charge it, I'm not going to be utilizing the aircraft anymore. No problem at all. Okay, so we'll do that. The monthly, of course, is going to be on the 12 1st of the month. We're going to bill those out. It's all on the card that you keep on file with us. Okay, same thing. 1 month prior to the end of your 12 months, we'll give you a notification, so what you want to do for the next 12. All right, so you agree to that. Once final statement in here is to understand, once again, if you choose monthly, it is $12.50, no matter you fly or not. No matter, I came in, I got my license in 4 months, and I'm done. Doesn't matter. You've committed to make 12 $50 payments, so those will continue until you've made those 12 payments. Okay, so hopefully this goes through everything for you. You got a good understanding of how our insurance works. If you have any questions, feel free to email or call, or if you see me at the airport, stop me. No big deal. We want to make sure that everyone's on a full same page, know where we're coming from, because aviation's awesome, it's amazing, but unfortunately it's expensive, and we're doing everything we can to make sure you have good, safe aircraft, but also insured and that everyone's covered. So, I look forward to seeing you at the airport and have some great flying.
Hey, oh, let's go!